dump, and we see that Rocky is using his tools to make a new invention because he is interested in having a sorter cannon. He then turns on his invention to start sorting the objects he would recycle, but suddenly realizes that he hit someone by accident. The kitten goes running away because he's scared, and Rocky starts chasing him to help him with his problem. Rocky gets the idea that he can use springs to reach him and tells him that he's just trying to help him. Percy starts telling him that he is a fan of his work because he considers him the best inventor who uses recycled material. Then Rocky discovers that Percy has been living in his recycling yard and that he also likes to recycle to make new inventions. Percy begins to show him that he has been working to make new inventions, but the only problem is that they don't work properly. While Humdinger is moving objects to throw them in the dumpster, but he gets the idea that he would better put them on the ground to finish faster. Mr. Hudson notices that there is trash on the train tracks, and that ends up causing it to start derailing. We go back to Humdinger, and he's on his way back to the city. But suddenly, he is hit by Mr. Hudson's train, and he says to call the Paw Patrol to ask for their help. While Rocky shows his friend Percy the new invention he made, and the kitty gets the idea that he can add tires to it so it can move on the ground. But suddenly, Rocky hears that he's being called, and he starts on his way to help with the mission. We go to the city, and Alex is playing with his animal friends. But suddenly, he hears the train is going at high speed in direction to the park, and Rocky manages to get there in time to save the animals. He then realizes that the animals are in trouble, but we see that the Paw Patrol managed to arrive in time to help him with the mission, and that they managed to save them with their teamwork. Ryder tells his team that the mission is not over because the train is still out of control. So they go at high speed to try to reach it, and Rocky has the idea that they can use the sand to stop it from moving. Then Rocky realizes that the train is going at high speed on its way to the dump and manages to get there in time to save his friend. While Rubble is gathering sand and manages to move it in time to soften the train's crash, Ryder begins to congratulate them for completing the mission, and Mr. Hudson informs them that the accident was caused by garbage on the tracks. So they discover that it was Humdinger's fault and begin to complain to him for throwing his garbage. But Humdinger begins to think that he can search in the garbage to find valuable treasures because he could sell them for a lot of money. To which the Paw Patrol say that the garbage isn't really real treasures, but they are valuable items because they can be recycled. While Percy the kitten is feeling sad that his house has been destroyed, and Rocky offers him the chance to live with them. Then they are on their way to the Paw Patrol base, and Rocky starts introducing him to his team members. But suddenly we see that Percy is excited to meet the Paw Patrol, and Chase ends up sneezing because of his allergy to cats. They then tell Percy that when they are happy, they like to wag their tails, and start teaching him to wag his tail too. Rocky asks Ryder if he can keep the kitten, and his friend replies that they would always help the needy. But suddenly, we see that he is too naughty, and that ends up causing them to get out of the base, while Humdinger is using his kittens to steal from the dumpsters, but ends up being disappointed that he doesn't find anything valuable, and says he'll keep looking until he finds treasure, which ends up causing trash in the streets, and the Paw Patrol are called to inform them about the problems. We go to Rocky, and he decides to name Percy as his new assistant, and says that as his first task, they will repair the broken equipment. They then go on their way to the city dump, and we see that Humdinger is still littering the city looking for treasure. While at the dump, Rocky is having problems with Percy's behavior because he only acts without thinking about the consequences, which ends up causing him to start working on making new inventions and modifying vehicles with very strange attachments. But suddenly we see that Rocky is desperate for his friend's troubles and doesn't want to accept help to take care of him as a team. Humdinger has the idea that he can visit the museum to steal the garbage as well, and says he'll go down the drain so he won't get caught. We go to the pet parlor, and Katie is preparing a bath to get Percy clean. But suddenly we see that once again, the kitty had made another invention, and that ends up causing a disaster in the place. We go back to Humdinger, and he manages to lower a lever so the water stops flowing. But that ends up causing the water pressure to increase, and it begins to flow out in various parts of the city. So Rocky realizes that there is a problem in the pipes, and contacts Ryder to inform him of the situation, while Humdinger is taking the opportunity to infiltrate the museum, and we see that the kitten starts stealing the most valuable objects. But Humdinger tells them that the real treasure is in the trash, and they manage to get out in time before they are discovered. Rocky goes at high speed to the water system, and when he gets there, he realizes that a lever is broken, so he starts working on the repair and manages to raise the lever to fix the problem. While Humdinger hears that they had raised the lever and they begin to be swept away by the water flow, Rocky informs Ryder that Humdinger is in trouble and that they are being swept away by the drainage flow. Then the Paw Patrol go at high speed, following the map of the city, and we see that Zuma manages to get there in time to get them to go another way, while the other puppies are working as a team to make an evacuation route, and Skye uses her vehicle to get them out of the drainage. We return to Rocky, and he realizes that Percy had gotten into trouble. But suddenly we see that Rocky has gotten trapped, and Percy tries to help him by pushing the buttons on his vehicle, which ends up causing him to go out of control because he doesn't know how to drive, and his vehicle is accidentally crushed by a pipe. Rocky starts complaining him about being too careless, and that ends up making Percy sad. We go to Humdinger, and he manages to realize that the trash can was actually empty. But suddenly he hears that there's a kitten that can talk, and we discover that actually his kittens can too, but they'd rather not. Then Humdinger decides that he would convince Percy to make him an invention, and we hear for the first time the words of Zuma the kitten. Percy gets the idea to modify the sorting cannon so that it searches for treasures, and Humdinger motivates him so he won't be sad anymore. While Rocky is angry that his vehicle was damaged, but his friend Ryder tells him that he behaved like Percy when he was a little puppy. Then he begins to tell him that he was too curious to play with the devices, and that one day he accidentally crashed his vehicle, but he always had the initiative that he would use his inventions to solve problems, and that he learned to trust others to make everything easier. So Rocky realizes that he had made a mistake, and says he would look for Percy to apologize for what he said. We go back to the dump, and Percy shows them that he made a new robot that can identify treasures. They then start using it to collect items that are in the dumpster, and Humdinger is happy because they found a coin. While in the city, the Paw Patrol realize that there is raining garbage because again, Humdinger is making a mess. Rocky goes at high speed to meet his friend and starts telling him that he must turn off the robot because it is too dangerous. He then starts telling him that he is sorry for the words he said and manages to convince him to come back to his team. But suddenly we see Humdinger break the lever and they go out of control, destroying everything in their path. So the Paw Patrol go at high speed to save the people and manage to get there in time to help their friends. While Rocky is chasing the robot to try to get it to stop and manages to save the kittens from getting hurt, they then go at high speed to try to stop the robot, and we see that Percy is wagging his tail because he is happy. The Paw Patrol get together to start the mission, and we see that each member is collecting different items to recycle because they have the idea that they can work as a team to make some kind of tail, as they can use it to stop the robot. Then Rocky decides that he would allow his friend to drive his vehicle, and we see him use the magnet to climb on top of the robot. Percy starts moving closer so Rocky could climb up, and we see that they manage to use their new invention to get the robot to stop. So the Paw Patrol celebrate that they completed the mission, but Humdinger is angry that they failed their plans, and we see that he gets happy because he found a mug. We go to the dump, and Rocky shows Percy that they built a new place to serve as his home, and says they worked as a team to make it